Flight Sim. Today I'll be doing a flight navigating via pilotage and dead reckoning. That means no modern navigational aids whatsoever. For the example, I chose a simple flight in uncontrolled airspace from Henderson Field, North Carolina to Lumberton Regional, North Carolina. I'm using the Charlotte sectional if you want to follow along, and demonstrating the dead reckoning plan using skyvector.com as a flight planning tool. I'm going to plan this trip to avoid airspace both to the north and to the south. The first being the MOA to the south, that's the Military Operations Airspace, and to the north is the Fayetteville Class C airspace. Just for convenience, I've chosen the GANS intercept. I don't have to choose the waypoint like that. I can just choose an area on the map or a spot on the map for my waypoint. But since I'm not using the VOR system to know if I'm at the intercept, it doesn't really matter. Instead, I'm going to cross-reference my position with landmarks showing on the map. The two most important or two most prominent are the lakes there. There's sort of an oval lake there and a horseshoe-shaped lake. It's called Horseshoe Lake. And there are some rivers there too that I can use. These will be the easiest features to recognize from the air, particularly in the simulator. Looking at the sectional, the elevations indicated in the sectional for the first leg is about 900 feet maximum ground elevation in the area. And in the second leg, the maximum elevation for the ground is 1,300 feet. Considering those, I've chosen my cruise altitude of 3,000 feet, given that this is not a very long flight. It's about 31 minutes or so, and so 3,000 feet should be fine. Henderson Field's runway is runway 9 or 27. For departure, the winds seem to be favoring an easterly takeoff, so I'll be doing left traffic departure westward. That's a downwind departure using runway 9. At Lumberton Field, we have two runways possible, runway 523 and runway 13 or 31. I'll be arriving from the northeast, and depending on the winds, I can do either left traffic into runway 5, I can enter a right base for runway 23, or enter downwind for runway 13, or straight in for runway 31. Currently indicating the arrival winds are 58 degrees at 9 knots, so I'm expecting to use runway 5 when I get there. So I've entered my departure and arrival airport into the flight plan and dragged the magenta line to GANS intercept and added that as a waypoint. I've entered the planned altitude of 3,000 feet. I'm flying the Cessna 172, and based on known performance of that plane, it has a cruise speed average of about 110 knots. Then if I select the Navlog SkyVector, it gives me a leg-by-leg breakdown of the flight plan. There are a couple important things to notice here. It gives you all the calculations that we used to have to do by hand, and by hand is how you'd have to do it in ground school. When you use the physical chart, you draw the lines on the map with a straight edge, measure the track using a protractor to get your track heading, and then you'd calculate corrections to actual speed and heading using the wind information to translate the information from the map to the plane gauges you actually use. So our winds today at Henderson Field are 48 degrees at 9 knots. Now I know that SkyVector has done all this for me, but let's check it using the handy E6B flight calculator, at least the first leg. It's old school, but in the plane you don't need any power to use it, and you don't have to worry about your batteries running out. So let's demonstrate on the first leg here, which is the Henderson Field to the top of climb, how to use the E6B calculator. So the first thing you do is put your wind information in. That's 48 degrees in the true heading is your wind direction, and then you draw a line of 9 knots from the center point. Then you turn the true heading dial to your track heading. The red line gives you how many degrees, either positive or negative, is your wind correction angle. And then you drag the slide so that the end of the red line intersects your target airspeed. And then you'll immediately have your ground speed, which is showing at about positive 5 knots. So this is showing that we should have a slight tailwind on the first leg. So navigating by dead reckoning means my main tools to know where I'm at the map while in the air is going to be my heading indicator, which shows the magnetic heading, and also my stopwatch. In the air, I'm going to stay as close to the plan heading and airspeed that as I can. So on this first leg, I calculated magnetic heading. I'll use starting with the track heading, which is 283 degrees. That's 270 plus the 13 degrees measured with the physical map using a protractor. And then I'll add a positive 6 degrees for the wind correction angle. That came from the E6B. And then I'll add a magnetic variation for this part of the world, which is a positive 9 degrees. Now remember, magnetic variation is caused by the offset between true north versus magnetic north. And you can find this and read it directly off the sectional chart. So if I keep the speed at 72 degrees for this leg, during the climb, I should expect to reach my cruise altitude of 3,000 feet and complete transition to cruise in around 3.9 minutes. So for the rest of the flight, I'm going to use the ETO, which is the estimated time overall, and I should reach Gans intersection at about 18 minutes. And at that point, I'll be looking for those lakes identified on the map, and at that point I can cross-check my position using Pilotage, and we can make any corrections to the flight plan timing that we need just using simple estimation. Okay, welcome to Henderson Field. We're in the plane. I've already done my startup and run-up, and I've got the Cessna 172 without the GPS modules on there. I've got my flight plan ready to go, sectional ready to go, and we're about to take off, so I'm about to make calls, so sit tight. Henderson Field traffic, Cessna 714 Tango Whiskey, taking off runway 09 for left downwind departure to the northwest, Henderson traffic. Okay, takeoff is achieved. I'm going to start the timer now. Henderson traffic, Cessna 714 Tango Whiskey, turning crosswind, runway 09 for downwind departure, Henderson traffic. Henderson traffic, Cessna 714 Tango Whiskey, turning left downwind, runway 09 for downwind departure to the northwest, Henderson traffic. Henderson traffic, 714 Tango Whiskey is departing to the northwest. This will be final call, Henderson traffic. Okay, so during climb, in order to keep pace with my timestamp here, with my plan, I'm trying to hit that 72 indicated airspeed, 72 knots on the airspeed. I'm almost to the cruise altitude of 3,000 feet, so we'll be able to compare, how well we did with time when we roll out of the climb and into cruise and transition into cruise. So let's see how it goes. Now you can see I have absolutely no other navigational aid going on right now. It is basically just the compass or the heading indicator and the airspeed and the stopwatch that I'm going by. So hopefully we don't get too far off course. Okay, so now I'm speeding up. Now we've hit our cruise altitude of 3,000 feet. I am now trimming up the plane and increasing our speed to 110 knots indicated, and then I'm going to hold that. I have my heading bug on the 290, 98, 97 degrees per the plan. And then I'm going to use the timer. And if you recall, I should reach the GAN's intercept when the timer's at about, I think it was 18 minutes. And then once I get established, and I'm going to keep my eyes outside the plane to see if I can spot landmarks as I go, so I can do some corrections, get some corrections on the fix. Okay, so I'm almost up at 18 minutes here, and I'm almost ready for the turn, although I am a little bit nervous because I don't see the lakes that I was supposed to see. I am a little bit concerned that I'm off course at this point, but I can't be too terribly off because this leg was only 18 minutes long, or, roughly, actually 18 minutes minus the 4 that we went to climb. So we're at 18 minutes now. I'm going to go ahead and make the turn so that I don't hit the Class Charlie airspace. And then I'm going to keep my eyes out the window, keeping note how long it takes for me to recognize the landmarks. So we'll keep our eyes out the plane, and I'm looking for those lakes that I identified on the sectional originally. So there's one of the landmarks. There's that lake I was expecting to see, and it is the oval lake. If you recall, there was one that was shaped like a horseshoe, and there was one that was shaped like a kind of like an oval. And the one that I spotted is the one that's an oval. And I've noted that it's on my left side, whereas on the plan, if I were following the magenta line, I noted that it was supposed to be on my right side. So I'm a little bit to the right of track. I've also noted that it took just about 2 minutes to get to this point, and this lake is right next to the intersection Gans. So because of that, I was a little further north off course than I was supposed to be. It took me 2 minutes to get back to Gans, so I'm going to add 2 minutes to this leg, which means I will be expecting to arrive at the airport at 33 minutes instead of 31 minutes. So I'm going from there, and when I get to about 31 minutes, I'm going to start looking for the airport to see if I can spot it. It's really critical at this point that I get back on course and get back to the plan, and I'm in a position where I can spot the airport. Okay, I'm just about at 30 minutes now. I should be getting pretty close to the airport, and so now I'm starting to look for it. I think I've spotted it over there to the left, which is consistent with being to the right of my flight plan. So I think I've spotted the airport, and very soon I'm going to go ahead and get ATIS. Now that I have the destination in sight, the Dead Reckoning plan isn't as critical anymore. I can just sort of go completely by pilotage and start steering towards it. In a minute here, I'm going to go ahead and get the weather, and as I said during the plan, if everything's going to plan, then I should be landing on runway, I believe it's 05, when I arrive at the airport. So let's go ahead and dial in the weather and see if that's okay, and then I will be making calls for the uncontrolled airport. So just sit tight until we land, and let me do the flying. All right.
Lumberton regional weather. Wind 060 at 6, visibility more than 10. Sky conditions 850 scattered, temperature 25, dew point 20. Altimeter 3022. Lumberton regional weather. Wind 060 at 6, visibility more than 10. Sky conditions 850 scattered, temperature 25, dew point 20. Altimeter 3022.
Lumberton traffic, Cessna 714 Tango Whiskey is about 5 miles to the northeast of the field. Entering 45 for runway 05, Lumberton traffic. Lumberton traffic, Cessna 714 Tango Whiskey is entering left downwind for full stop runway 05, Lumberton traffic. Lumberton traffic, Cessna 714 Tango Whiskey entering left base for full stop runway 05, Lumberton traffic. Lumberton traffic, Cessna 714 Tango Whiskey entering final runway 05 full stop, Lumberton traffic. Lumberton traffic, Cessna 714 Tango Whiskey is off runway 05. This will be final call, Lumberton traffic. Okay, well, let's find a place to park here, and we have arrived at Lumberton Airport safely with nothing but Dead Reckoning. I hope that you've enjoyed this demonstration of Dead Reckoning, and that you know, I hope it helps you in your own understanding. There were mistakes made, or at least I have to admit there were some mistakes made because I was off course. One of them being that I was too far to the north, and I'm not really sure why that was. Maybe it was because I didn't turn, or I turned a little too early when I left Henderson Field. It could also be that the winds weren't exactly what they were supposed to be when I was at 3,000 feet. It could be any number of things. So this is why you have to supplement what you're doing with pilotage. And once we did that, we were able to get back on track, and we successfully avoided the airspace that we wanted to avoid. And we were able to find the airport and land safely. So, you know, this is what Dead Reckoning is all about. This is what pilots used to have to do before there was navigational aids. And you can see there is a math and science to it all that, for the most part, it works pretty well. So, recommend that, you know, if you get a chance, this is a challenging thing to do. And if you want to challenge your flying skill, this is something that might interest you. Well, I want to thank you for joining us on Father-Son Flight Sim. If you like this video, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe. And if you want to be alerted to other videos, just hit the alarm bell. We'll see you next time on Father-Son Flight Sim. Have a great day.